So let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, what the cashier's responsibilities are going to be. We are making a lot of changes this year. But I think generally you've all done this before, so you kind of know what you're going to be responsible for. We're not going to accept cash. That's the first biggest change this year for the cashiers. So we're going to have signs that we need to hang out to make sure that everybody walking in the door is aware of that. We don't want people to get through all the paperwork and then get to the cashier station and find out that they're not able to pay with cash. So we're going to accept checks, and we'll accept Visa and MasterCard.
Now, are you guys giving us the no cash signs, or are these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those will be included in your envelope.
Okay.
So another thing that we're going to do, we're not going to have add-ons available. We will still do refunds if necessary. And the other thing is that for the Metro sites, either Edith or Alex is going to be on site, so you'll be able to return all your materials to me through them. So just make sure that you collect up all your goods and materials and paperwork and give those back to the liaison before you clean up and head out. So we won't be using any Loomis deliveries, either statewide or Metro, since there won't be any cash. We don't really have a need for the additional security. Okay. Stop me at any time if you have questions. And this is my first fair season. I'm new. I replaced Terry this year. And I started, I think, the week after they canceled the spring fairs. So I have no experience doing this. And Edith has been holding my hand and helping me out along the way, and Alex, and everybody's been really great. So like I said, this is my first time. So if you have any questions along the way or aren't sure about something, let me know. You can just interrupt me, that's fine. So we will have some walk-in participants. We're strongly encouraging everybody to register online, but we will still have walk-in participants. Since we're not going to have cash, it's going to be a little bit more easy, a little bit more smooth, and hopefully we'll get people in and out more quickly. So they'll be greeted at the door by somebody who will do a wellness check. They're going to take their temperature, make sure that they're not at high risk, or if they've been exposed to anybody recently, so that they may be at risk of infecting other people. Just trying to draw that line right at the door. After that, then they'll be directed to a table where they can decide what screenings they're going to purchase, and then somebody's going to help them fill out their form. Are you not able to get on? Oh, sorry. So once they get to the cashier, they're going to have everything filled out. They're going to know what they're buying and what they're going to pay for it. So we're not going to need to help them figure out what screenings they need. We're just going to basically review the form and take their payment. So while they're working with the volunteer to fill out their participant form, if it's real busy at the time that they're coming in, we'll ask them to schedule an appointment for some time during the day. So either during, the next hour, it may be later in the fair, afternoon or something like that. We're using a new registration scheduling system so that everybody will have a scheduled appointment. So the walk-ins, we're going to work to get them scheduled if it's busy when they walk in the door. We're assuming that's going to be really busy. We're getting really good turnout for online registration so far. So then, sorry? Okay. So then by the time they get to us, they're going to have their form completed. They're going to know that they can't pay with cash. They may, at the last minute, if they decide they want to add a screening before they pay, then we can walk them through that, or ask them to go back to the form check table to make sure that they've got it all sorted out before they come to the cashier station to pay. So hopefully this is really going to streamline things. And there's your sign. You'll get that sign in your packet. So I want to make sure you have enough so that you post 1 or 2 on the door so people walking in the door will see that before they come in. We'll have one at the volunteer table where they're going to fill out their form. We'll have, a couple of reminders at the cashier table just in case. So I'm going to ask the supervisors to just spread these out over the site, make sure that they're in, prominent places where people will know before they come in that we won't be able to take their cash.
Okay.
And can I just say one thing? All of your guys' fairs, we're only sending 50 forms that are going to be printed out with all of your information, because we really are anticipating most people will do online registration, and that's our hope. But so we're only going to send you 50, but either Alex or I will have some blank ones available just in case.
Right? Any questions so far? Okay. So what we have, I don't know if you guys had these in the fall, the package discounts. Edith, do you know how far back these go?
We would have just had them in the spring, right, Corky?
That's right, just back in the spring, yes.
Okay. So what these are is if somebody purchases a specific package, in other words, so baseline is the blood chemistry and A1C. The essential health is blood chemistry, A1C, and vitamin D. Then they can purchase a pass, which is a $10 value that will give them the discounted price for these. It's a $10 off coupon, essentially. And so if they purchase the essential health, they get 2 of those $10 off coupons, so $20 off of that package. We're not actually going to have physical paper passes or discount coupons. It'll just be written on their form when they go through filling out their form. And you can see how we've just written that in on the bottom, on the right-hand side by the payment method. So this form basically isn't changing. You're going to add or subtract a couple things, okay? But
We didn't have too many in the spring at all that did this.
okay. Yeah, and I think because they're offering it online now, there's probably a lot more online, but as far as walk-ins, I'm not sure. No idea. We're all kind of flying blind at this point. No idea what things are going to look like.
Got that right.
We're setting up some physical changes in our fairs as well, so that all of the traffic is flowing one way throughout the building, through the process of check-in and cashiering, getting your blood drawn and exiting. And so hopefully we'll be minimizing physical contact and closeness. We're going to be really watchful of social distancing as well. So we'll go into a little bit of that as well.
Question on this.
Yeah.
So for the package discount, that 1 pass versus 2 pass, whatever, they will be getting this at the time they're deciding on what blood tests they want, correct?
That's right. And so if they, farther down when we go through specifically how to fill this out for people if they may not know how to fill it out, you're going to write at the bottom there, you're going to write, minus $10 or minus $20 to take off of their total. So their screenings are going to be the same price on the amount column and the total column. But then down at the bottom, you're going to just subtract $10 or $20 from here, from the total.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we'll go a little more closely.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So your envelopes, this is changing a little bit this year as well because we're not anticipating a whole lot of walk-ins. I've simplified the process, and if you've been doing this for a long time, you're very familiar with Terry's process of doing the tallying, and then the summary, and then the reconciliation form and the deposit form. So I simplified things a little bit this year, and we'll walk through all of those, all those forms so you can get an idea. It's not, like I said, it's more simple. So you're not going to have to relearn the entire process. We're eliminating the summary because you're not going to be doing hundreds of forms. You're going to be doing tens of forms, maybe 50, maybe up to 100, but not in the hundreds like we've done in the past before we had online registration. So this is everything that's going to be in your envelope. I'm not going to go piece by piece through this. The Loomis bags at the bottom, we're not using them for Loomis. They gave us the bags, so we're going to use them, but we are not hiring Loomis. So it's just plastic bags that say Loomis on them. They're just for your use to return your materials back to us. Okay.
There is where some cashier supervisors were using a Excel spreadsheet to do the reconciliation. So you're
Oh,
saying
that's
that,
great.
so you don't want them to do that anymore? You want them to go with this?
No, if they're using a spreadsheet and they've got a system that works, that's perfect. Yeah, as long as they can reconcile the tests that were purchased and the money that they've received,
Oh, yeah.
that's perfect. I would love to actually get everybody on that system.
We can send it to you.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah. Yeah, if every fair were able to have a computer on site that they could use and train everybody how to do that, you know, if we could save paper and have a machine totaling the numbers instead of having to do it on a calculator or in our head, anything to, you know, eliminate errors, the possibility of errors, and make things easier, I'm all for it. So we can move towards that in the future and you know, give fairs the option of doing it on paper or in an Excel spreadsheet.
Didn't we do that last year, Lori and Mary?
Yes, we did.
And what's your feedback on that?
You know, it was a little bit learned by trial, but Mary was real good about it with the computer.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was a little clunky, and you really had to. I felt we had to self teach us to try to figure out you would input it and how it would flow through to other, you know, tabs on the spreadsheet.
Sure. Yeah, so Corky, if you want to send me those, I'll take a look at that and see if it's something that we could universally use. Then,
Okay, because the instructions are right on the first page.
oh, that's great. Yeah, I would definitely encourage people to use an electronic tool to do the addition and the multiplication and everything. Saves time and it saves errors, for sure.
And paper.
And paper, right, right. Okay, anything else before we move on? Okay, so the first thing in your envelope, you guys are familiar with this, your information sheet. It's got the cashier supervisor's name on there, the site number in case you don't know it. You need to write your site number on all the papers that come back to us. Well, not the flyers, but anything that has your information on it as far as forms or numbers or tally sheets, anything like that. So if you haven't met your site coordinator, make sure you do that. Estimate number of participants. This isn't the number of walk-ins. This is, I think this is general based on total expectation with online and walk-in.
That's from last year. They take an average of that and turn around and use that for what they anticipate will be going on for this new year.
Right. So the cashier station section 6 of the resource guide for fairs has been changed quite a bit. Take a look at that. The packet will include one. Read through it, and it's just going to basically just review everything that we're going through today. And I can't guarantee that there are no errors. Excuse me, because I didn't have anybody proofread it for me. But you could see the things that we provide, the things that you're expected to provide. And we'll go through all those. Of course, we're offering the volunteer discount, and that's an online discount. We encourage everybody to register online, including the volunteers. So we have our 20% volunteer discount to offer to volunteers. I think you guys are all familiar with that. And then the friends and family discount as well. So this is, again, an online code only. If people, and really and truly, I think, and Edith can confirm this for me, but if people arrive at the fair and they want to use the friends and family discount, they can register online on their phone, basically. I don't know if you could print out your forms that way.
No, it wouldn't be. Most sites don't have a printer available.
Okay, so
And
probably
we
not.
have in Cashiering allowed them come in and do that, and we give them the discount.
Yeah, if they do on walk-in registration, Corky, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's different from what we were told this spring or this summer, but I guess that's kind of a fair by fair choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, contact your site coordinator. We're not going to need as many cashiers as we've needed in the past because we're not expecting a whole lot of people to be showing up as walk-in participants. What we're saying is probably 1 to 2 is all that you need. I don't know if you're going to need extra people to do the reconciliations because it's not good. You're not going to have 3 lines of people checking out or purchasing. You're going to have 1 line because there's no cash. It's going to be checks and credit cards, single file line in order to keep people 6 feet apart. And we don't need as much space, and we can kind of do a single line, and it's quicker to do a check or a credit card. So
We could do 2 sides, correct? At one table, have the 2 cashiers sitting 6 feet apart that each have a credit card machine or not?
you may not need that. You will have 2 credit card machines. It depends on your site. If you have enough space and you can have 2 cashiers side by side, and you have enough activity to keep 2 cashiers busy, then that's great. If not, and you have extra volunteers, maybe they can help, as an ambassador, kind of showing people where things are around the building. I don't think you'll need 2 or 3 reconcilers either. I think that, again, it's going to depend on the volume at your fair, but if you're going to be reconciling 50 participant forms for the whole day, probably 1 person can handle that. So I don't think you'll need as many people as you've needed in the past. You can it's really hard to judge right now.
Just it.
There's a lot of people who don't want to go to a fair right now, who may have come in the past. So we're, taking that into consideration, that there's some people that are concerned about safety at the fair, even with all the precautions that we're taking. And higher risk people, possibly elderly people who have come in the past, may not want to for safety reasons. So it's really hard to judge right now how many people are going to walk in. And, we have some people who just don't use computers and don't want to try to figure it out. And so they're going to walk in. So,
Debbie, and Debbie, your cashiers also take care of the online registration, right?
They didn't last year, Edith. We had a separate table where the online registered people checked in.
Okay, because I think we need to talk to Tammy then, because I think we'll talk offline.
Yeah, because we have 4 people. So Lori and Mary both want to be in the back and do the reconciling. So two up front. So I think with what Ann is saying, we could easily do both, the online and the walk-ins.
yeah.
And Debbie,
Yeah.
if you need me and elsewhere, that's fine too. So
Okay.
we'll play it by ear when we get
Yep.
there.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, it's really hard to know, and I hope that everybody, It's hard to prepare. You prepare for the worst and you hope for the best, right? It's all you can do at this point. So this training will be available to anybody who wants to take a look at it.
Hey, Sarah.
There will be a few things that you're going to be expected to bring, and that's on that list. So some of those things are, you're going to bring pens. If you don't have pens, the site coordinator might be able to supply some because they're getting some 9 health fair pens.
Okay.
And if you want to, we're not requiring this, but if you feel more comfortable having 2 cups, one with clean pens and one with used pens, and you want to sanitize them in between, then feel free to do that.
I'll call you. I'm on another.
Just depends on your comfort level and how many pens you have, I suppose.
Okay, thank you. All right, bye.
So keep a box for your participant forms once you've collected them, and a money box to store your checks and your credit card receipts. Office supplies, and you guys know. An extension cord for the credit card machines is really important. You're going to want something that you can plug in 2 machines to. I believe, I'll have to verify, I believe they are 2-prong plugs and not 3-prong. So if you need an extra extension cord with 2 plugs in it, basically, you won't need one of those long electrical hoses with the 3-prong socket on it. Okay. And then you should have the chairs and tables that you need.
Yep.
Provided for you. So we're saying obviously 1 cashier supervisor, 2 cashiers probably at the cashier station, and then 1 reconciler, most likely. And you can float, you know, if you've got a 6-hour, 7-hour fair and you want to do 3-hour shifts and have 1 person in the morning and 1 person later on, you know, all of that's going to be up to you as the supervisor, how you want to manage your people and make sure people get breaks, and make sure the table is covered. So the cashier supervisor will fill in for that wherever necessary. Okay, and I talked about that. I got ahead of myself a little bit. We are going to have security people kind of in the area, making sure that the people are separated by 6 feet. There's also going to be tape on the floor to indicate which direction the line is going to go, and the 6 feet, you know, an X on the floor for 6 feet distances, so everybody is separate enough for the 6 feet requirement. You will be wearing a mask at all times. Everybody in the building is going to be wearing a mask at all times. You don't need gloves. If you feel like you want to wear gloves, then that's up to you, but the CDC doesn't recommend wearing gloves in a situation like this. So we're not going to provide gloves to you, but we will provide the masks, the disposable masks, if you need them. Okay. And this we've talked about, even the seasoned cashiers who will say, I've done this 16 times already. Ask them to please watch the training just so that they're aware of what the changes are. Changes specific to COVID-19 this year. Okay. All right, on the day of the fair, we'd like everybody to be there an hour before start time. Make sure everything is set up and ready to go when they open the doors. And then the supervisor is going to handle filling in for breaks. Like we said, they're going to handle refunds. Refunds, you guys are probably familiar with that. We can refund credit card purchases that are made that day. If somebody registered online and now they want a refund, we have the log form that you'll write that down and return that to us, and we will perform the refund on site here. So you're not refunding any online participants. The only refunds that you'll be doing is if somebody pays right there on site and then decides that they can't stay for the appointment later this afternoon, or they want to go back and register online and go to a patient service center at Quest in order to get their blood drawn. So the only things you're going to refund is people who purchased right there on site. And then obviously with a check, you just give them their check back. Okay, and then the supervisor needs to make sure that everything is wiped down in between the participants. Your surfaces, I'm assuming, will either be plastic or you'll have a table covering to wipe down. You'll have a spray cleaner and wipes. You'll have hand sanitizer there at the cashier station, so make sure everybody is taking care of themselves hygienically and taking care of our participants by also keeping the area clean. So we have a little bit of different look this year, obviously. We're not going to see that kind of crowding. So a single file line, people are going to come to the cashier station with their forms already filled out. They already know what they're purchasing. And so it's just going to be pay and go. There's not going to be a lot of discussion with, is this test right for me? All of that will be taken care of at the registration table. 6-foot markings on the floor we talked about, and also no cash. So you're not going to have the signs. I don't know if you have signs for your particular fair, but if you do put up signs, if you're going to have two, one for checks and one for credit cards, just make sure you don't have any signs that indicate cash. You also won't need signs that have all the screening cost information. We have some flyers that you'll have on the table, but again, everybody should have already decided what screenings they're going to buy before they get to you.
You guys, you will get a package of signage, but you're gonna hardly use any of it.
Okay.
So you'll still get, what you're seeing there, but just take what works for you guys.
Okay.
And just remember, I don't know if I didn't mention this up front, but we are offering the COVID antibody screening. And that's, Edith, did you guys update all the signs with that?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think there is some information that's getting sent in their supplies, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, so the handouts that I have, the cards that you keep at your table just in case for the cost of the screenings, I updated that to include the COVID antibody test. So you'll have that information at your desk, but it's not going to be on those signs that you're going to hang up there at the cashier station.
And there's room on the form. There's a blank line on the form that you can write that in.
Mhm.
And it's $79. And
Right.
it's the antibody test. It's not to
Right.
test for a virus. It's the antibody test to see if you've had it.
Right. Good. So the reconciliation area, you guys are familiar with that. It just needs to be sort of separate from the hubbub so that the reconcilers can focus and concentrate on counting and tallying and transferring numbers from one form to another without interruption. Okay, and a place to keep the checks and receipts secure. Supervising cashiers, and this is sort of repetitive. You're gonna make sure that the forms are filled out correctly, and all of your cashiers are going to be doing that. You want to remind them to ask for donations and make sure that managing participant forms. Sorry, I didn't read this very well. So just make sure the checks and credit cards and copies of forms are getting placed in the right place. We don't want anything just sitting around. Partly because the information on the participant forms is confidential, but also because we need to just make sure that we are accounting for every participant, every payment.
A suggestion, when they do a participant form, not only turn it upside down, but when you turn it upside down to hide everything, it also puts it in order. So you don't have to put it back in order when you go to reconcile.
Right, right, good point. Okay, and then, stay close at hand to make sure that you're helping. Be sure that you process the refunds and any discounts if those are approved and if they're written in on the form. And then make sure that everybody is wearing their masks and using hand sanitizer. So for training the cashiers, we talked about having them watch this video at some point if they have time before the fair. We will have little cheat sheet cashier procedures, which have been updated for the few changes that we're making, and then credit card machine procedures. And we'll go through that just briefly. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I dreamed about the credit card machines last night, you guys. Because I haven't started checking them out yet to make sure they work. But we have two different kinds. We have the Hypercon and the Ingenico. And I think that the Ingenico are the smaller ones. But
They're the newer ones.
Yeah, we're going to use those exclusively this year because we have enough of the Ingenico that we don't need to use the Hypercom. And so I would like to eventually phase those out because they break and we have no way of fixing them.
That's right.
So we have a whole trash heap of Hypercom machines that they're irrecoverable. So
I'm sorry, Debbie, we had a lot of trouble with ours last time. Do you remember?
The credit card machine?
Yes, at least while I was on the table. And it never seemed to take the credit card that I was.
There was one that was definitely, yes.
I was very frustrated.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. And you know what? We're going to be, if you're at a metro site, you know, I could actually ask Edith to throw an extra machine in her car just in case.
Yeah.
But you'll get two, and hopefully, and I'll check them out to make sure they work. But you know, if we need to, we can get one to you real quick. I'm going to be on site here at the office on call, so I can Uber one out to you if necessary.
Well, and usually Terry would give like me an extra one to keep in my car. So it's kind of a backup.
That's better, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the cashiers. Again, they want to be there in place before they open the doors. And then we'll go through some of the things that the cashiers will actually need to know how they'll be doing things. So this is a cheat sheet. You may not be able to read all of this, but we're going to go through all of this. This is just a little half-page card that you're going to have at the table in case anybody forgets the steps or forgets what they might need to do. So when the participants get to you, everything should be filled out. Okay, you should just have to verify or fill in the amounts for the totals. And then a number 8 here, I think is new. I don't know if you guys, I don't know how to back up in this thing. Isn't that funny?
Page up if it's a PowerPoint.
Page up? Oh, look at that. Thank you. Wow.
I'm good for something.
So anyway, we're asking the cashiers to sign the participant form at the bottom as the witness to the participant's signature. And they may do that at the check-in table or at the registration table, but just please double check and make sure that their signature is witnessed. And if they've already signed it and you need to witness it, then ask them, is this your signature? Did you sign this? And then you can witness it. But you want confirmation that you're witnessing the actual correct signature on the form. Hopefully they don't sign it until they're in front of a witness. But that's
usually they sign it, and it's for those who come all the time. They just sign it, and then somebody.
And if they go through forms checks, the form checks people usually turn around and sign it before it even gets to the cashiers.
Well, that's good too. Yeah, we just need to make sure that somebody is witnessing the signature, whether it's us or somebody before us. Okay, write the participant number on the checks and the merchant copies of the credit card receipts. You don't need to write it on their copy, but it should match what the number is on their form. We're using blank forms. So Edith, you can help me. I'm not sure where they get their participant number from.
Well, actually, we changed it a little bit, and each site is getting at least 50 forms that are going to have all their information on.
Oh, they will be pre-numbered. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're going to be pre-numbered.
Okay, good. Then
That'll make it easier.
their number will be in the sticker in the top right corner,
Yep.
and then you'll just want to copy that number onto the check or on the credit card receipt.
Yep. You got it.
All right, so if they're purchasing blood screenings, which most likely they will be if they're there, you're going to keep the green copy, and that's the one you're going to place face down in the box. You're going to give the participant the white and yellow copies and let them know that they need to give the white copy to the phlebotomist when they get back there to have their blood drawn. And then the other copy, the yellow one, is for their records. They keep that one. That's their receipt in addition to, the register receipt that they get from the credit card machine. I don't know if we're going to have any people who come in and give a donation only, because people are going to be having appointments, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get people through the line if they decide not to purchase screenings. I think we would recommend that they just go online to make a donation if they're only going to make a donation and not purchase screenings. That way we don't have extra people around in line who don't need to be there. If somebody does, if they get all the way up there and they decide they don't want to purchase their screenings, but they do want to make a donation, do the same thing. Give them the yellow copy, cross out the screenings or whatever, just mark on there what their donation is. Give them their yellow copy, and then keep the white and the green ones in that tray. Okay. Anybody who needs a refund? Yes, I'm sorry.
No, I just saw the colon cancer kits. And I don't know, Ann, if you have this further down, but anybody that buys the colo kit online, they're going to get theirs in the mail. So you're only going to get a real small number. I think we put 3 boxes of colo kits in your supplies for the people who walk in. So just so you know that,
Okay,
online will get theirs mailed.
good. That's good to know.
One less thing.
That's right. Efficiency, I love it. And then the refunds, I would ask that this cashier supervisor does that, or if a cashier is doing it, have the supervisor watch just to make sure that it's being taken care of, because you're going to be manually entering numbers into the credit card machine to do those refunds. And you will have a card with procedures on how to do that. All right, so I kind of went through all of this real briefly, but we'll just take a look real quick here. This is the form. The form itself isn't changing. The witness, I pointed out the witness signature line there towards the bottom.
And do you see the blank line there that you can write in if somebody wants the COVID antibody test?
Yeah, up here, and I have that a little closer up in a slide in a couple seconds here. Oh, here it is right here. Okay, so what you're going to want to do on these forms is cross out cash and vouchers. We're not doing vouchers this year either. And then there's that blank line where I've written in the baseline and written the $10 discount there for that if they purchase those baseline passes. And what they do, they just purchase the tests at a discount. So what we're doing is we're showing the actual cost of the test and then taking the discount out here. And then this same line is what Edith was saying. If they're purchasing the COVID antibody test, just write it in there, and then $79 for that test. Okay. So I don't know how much of this they'll have filled out at the registration table. You may need to carry across those amounts to the total column and then add everything up. We'll have calculators there for you to add those. I would not add those in my head.
The thing is, you might have somebody want to turn around and not only you do the baseline, but they might want to make a donation.
Right.
Then you
Right,
run out
and-
of room.
No, we've got a line here for donations.
Okay, I see that. Excuse me.
Yeah. So hopefully if they want the COVID antibody and you've already got the baseline in here, pick another line that they're not using, cross this out and just write COVID there and write $79. Just pick an empty line.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we weren't able to have the forms redesigned, but we will do it for next year.
I'm not sure if that will confuse though the Quest Diagnostic people. I think I would rather you just write it in at the very bottom, the COVID test. If they're doing baseline and then they're gonna do the COVID test too,
No.
why? Because all of those tests up there, like it says SST, those are certain tubes that they use for that blood work. And I'm just afraid that it will, mess things up.
I make a suggestion.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of, if they do the baseline and the COVID, put the COVID underneath the colon cancer in that blank line, and then use that bottom line for baseline, because it's really just a number that you're subtracting from the total.
Yeah,
Smart.
that's true. I thought of that, or also putting it under the payment method column.
Yep, that's a good idea, Deb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Use that line if you can for the COVID, that blank line. Mhm. And then if you need to put one of the package passes, write it at the bottom under that, in that total line, or on the right-hand side in that column there.
Yep. Good idea.
Good. Good. You guys are probably familiar with these cards. We'll have these on the tables as well, but make sure that you ask for donations for people who haven't already written a donation in on their form. It's important for us to be able to offer low cost or free screenings to people who need them. We do offer free pap tests at certain times in certain sites. I don't know if we'll be doing that. Is it just vouchers, Edith?
We're not doing any pap tests this fall. We're
Okay.
just doing blood work and ask a medical question, get a referral. Because they're less touch points. We're not doing, we can't even do blood, which is, what a bummer. But
Hmm.
it's just all that sanitation stuff and just being careful.
Right. Good. All right, for collecting the payments then, we've got a 9 Health Services stamp to stamp on the front if nobody writes in there. If they use 9 Health Fair, that's fine too. That's acceptable to the bank. 9 Health Services is our official company name. And then stamp the back with the bank stamp, which is the for deposit only. It's important to do that because if you're going to be transferring these checks through the mail, it's just safest just to make sure that that for deposit only is stamped on the back of the check just in case. And then the credit cards is pretty straightforward. We'll go through the procedures on using those and the package passes we've talked about. Participant forms, in case you don't know what that looks like, this is the 3 copies. And the center form, that doesn't really look green. It looks like the text is green, but the form itself is actually green on that page. It's a light green color. And that's the middle form. The top one is white, the bottom one is yellow. So tear that one out, and you could just tear the perforation off of the left side so that it's easy to separate the pieces.
No, do not tear the left side off because
No?
no, tear the right side off so you can pull it out like they're showing right there. So when it gets into the phlebotomist, they pull the top one off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I was looking at, I'm left-handed, so I see things backwards.
Oh.
So yes,
Who
tear
We
the
won't hold that
right
against
side up.
you.
I I do get my left and right confused sometimes, and it's frustrating for my family, but it happens. So tear the right side off
No, it's the left.
and then pull the green page out with your right hand if you're right-handed, okay? And then have them give the other 2 copies, give the other copy to the phlebotomist. Okay? Use a paper clip to clip their check or their credit card slip onto that green form. Please don't use a staple. Just saves us a little bit of time later having to separate those items. And again, people who don't want to purchase any tests, not very likely, but in the event that somebody gets to that point and decides they don't want to buy the screenings, we can cross that out and they can just pay their donation and keep their yellow form for their tax records. All right, the Ingenico credit card machines. They are really easy to use as long as they do what you tell them to do, right? The biggest thing that happens on these machines is that the card reader doesn't read the card. And then you have to manually enter the number. So if you use these machines before, you know you can follow these instructions. Turn it on and make sure it says TSYS on the screen. Press 1, and then that means that the transactions are going to be processed offline. So you don't need a phone cord. You're not going to be transmitting the actual purchases to their banks. All it does is it stores the transaction in the credit card machine. And then when you return the machine back to us, we plug it into a phone line, and then it actually processes those transactions. So the participants probably won't see their credit card activity for a couple days after the fair. They're not going to see it right away because it's not until we plug the machine into the phone line and upload those transactions that it will go to their bank and indicate that they've made a purchase. So you won't get any declines like they do in a store. If somebody's maxed out their card, it's not going to decline because it's not going to their bank to see what their balance is. That won't happen until we get the machines and we upload them. So the error that you would get is that it can't read the card number. Okay. And then that's what this is for, to enter the card number manually. You have to enter the card number and then enter the expiration date. It'll ask you if you have the card. You'll say yes, because we're not going to do this if they don't. You can't do a no card present. They have to have the card with them. Enter the address numbers. That's going to be their house numbers, and then their zip code.
And it's only Visa and MasterCard.
That's right. They can't use their, well, yeah. I was going to say they can't use their Best Buy card, but the Best Buy cards are now Visas too. So make sure it has a Visa or a MasterCard logo on it. Okay. The way to do a refund, basically, you're just going to void the transaction that you entered earlier. And this will walk you through it. You do need to enter the reference number from their participant receipt.
Make sure you're doing it back to the credit card machine that you used, or it won't
Right.
accept.
Yeah, that's a good.
It'll tell you that, so you'll
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Okay, good. Great. So the reference number is not the same as the participant number. It's going to be the transaction reference number on their original receipt. Okay. A lot of numbers we have to take care of, and we accountants like that. We like numbers. But it gets confusing when you're having to deal with a lot of people in a short period of time. So we are hoping to manage that. And I didn't really mention this with the early on, but when the participants walk in, when they fill out their form, they're given, I think I might have mentioned this, an appointment time. So it may be if there's no line, then they'll just let them in right now. Otherwise, you know, they may need to come back later in the day at some point when they don't have as many online registrations with appointments during that time period.
Or some sites may just kind of have whole area where they can be socially distanced. And then as soon as there's a phlebotomist available, they'll work them in. I'm never going to try their darndest to be able to do it in a efficient way and as quickly as possible. But yet we do need to let the people who made appointments, we need to honor those.
Right. Good. Changing the paper. These pictures don't really show you a lot, but it tells you to lift the cover in the back and put the roll in, which way you put the roll. Make sure it unrolls from the bottom towards you, so that the flap is, it's like if you put the toilet paper in backwards, as far as I'm concerned, if it's backwards, it comes out the bottom instead of the front. So, you know, that's really controversial these days. Anyway, just make sure there's enough in there, it's enough of a tail there, so when you put the cover back on, you can pull it up and rip it off a little bit and have a clean start on that new roll. There'll be a couple extra rolls of paper in your box with your machines. This just kind of goes through the online registration process. You know, they pay in advance, they have an appointment, they print out their own forms and bring them with. And we won't have to deal with online participants because they will have already paid. So they will bypass the cashiering station altogether. Unless they need to come back and ask for a refund, then we'll use that refund form to log that. This is just a sample of an online participant form. Looks similar.
So if we get somebody that comes up and says, hey, I registered online, but I want to add the COVID test. I didn't realize it was available. I know we can't do add-ons. What are we supposed to tell them?
Edith, that's all you.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's kind of a, gosh, you hate to turn them away.
I know.
And see, we've always done that with that add-on sheet. And I mean, for the pre-registered, we might have one or two a week or something. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but you do have people coming in and doing that.
Yep.
I think if they do that, then we have to set them up as a separate registration
Okay.
and have them do
No, you can't do that because then it throws Quest Diagnostics off.
Right, right.
Why does it throw Quest off?
Then they have two different vials and they don't know which number to use.
Yep.
Well, then they would be a completely separate participant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a different participant form and then they got their
Number's different, and the number goes on the vial, the blood
yeah.
vial.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would be like two different people coming in.
They'll get two different reports then.
That's the only way we can do it, and unless, I don't know, Edith, if you know of another way.
Well,
I mean, that's the only way we can offer it to them.
I guess what whoever decided that we wouldn't do it was they were concerned about too many touch points, people touching too many things. Personally, I think if somebody wants to add on that COVID test, that, and you know, I can confirm it, but if they want to add that on, we should allow them to do that. But of course, on the online form, the COVID test is there.
It is there? Yeah, it is,
Yeah,
because they can purchase it online.
online. Yeah,
Right.
but again, Corky, how many people do we have come and then want to add on something?
And see, that's what I'm saying. You might have one or two a week or something, some site, but then again, that's why that add-on and return form or refund form was there. It's so simple just to have them come back You add that on, add it on the add-on sheet, and they're gone.
Mhm.
And I think we could probably do that with the online sheet. Just add that on there and then take the payment just for the $79, attach that credit card receipt on there. And I think that would be fine because we're just adding to, oh, but then it's not in the system as registered.
But our instructions say no add-ons.
Right, and that was the original discussion that we had with Alex and Adele. So,
Well, I guess we need to follow the rules then, no add-ons.
Okay.
I need
I
to talk
know
to
They
Alex and
show up
Adele.
on, oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, we
Will
can
it show
suggest
up
to
on
them.
online that they,
What's that?
do they see the COVID antibody test online?
Yes,
Yes,
Because it's not on the,
no,
that's where
not
I'm,
on the walk-in,
right.
but it is on the online.
okay, okay.
But it's still on offer for walk-ins. It'll be on the list of screening costs at the registration table. They'll know that that's on offer. So I guess if somebody maybe, yeah, I think we should just not allow it for online registrations. We can offer to them that they can go back and register again and then go to a Quest PSC to have that test done. It's the same price.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of making a different appointment for that at the Quest PSC.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see after the first week. We might
Yeah,
have
we
to
might know better.
do a little tweaking after the first week.
That's very true. We might learn some things next
Yeah.
weekend. Okay. All right, so this is just a place to log refunds, just to keep track of them so that we can use that to perform the refunds that we need to do here in the office for the online registrations, and also just to track refunds that we've done for the on-site registrants as well. And that form is the same as it was. It's 2 copies. You're just going to fill in the information for all the screenings there and their participant name and their number. Okay, and we mentioned this, if they pay with a check, then you'll just return the check to them. If they pay with a credit card, we'll do the void if they were an on-site participant that paid, or we'll send the form back to us and we'll do the refund here. I'm just breezing through these so you can go back and read them in more closely if you want to afterwards. I'm not really paying attention to the time. It's 2 o'clock already. So the reconciliation, you know, we've talked about how to do it at a separate table, keep the forms separate, keep them sorted numerically. You'll have the checks clipped and the credit card receipts clipped to the form. So at that point, you'll separate them when you tally them. Make sure that you tally everything on these tally worksheets. And the tally worksheets are basically the same. I changed them from reconciliation to tally because you're not reconciling anything on these forms. So you're basically just tallying with the little hash marks there, how many of each test people have purchased that day. Okay, if you've done any refunds on any of the tests, go ahead and mark that in that last box above the total. At the bottom of that sheet is where you can log just the contributions that people make, just to keep a running total of contributions that are included in the payments that we've received. And then there's a tally sheet as well for volunteers. That's separate, and that's only separate because they pay different prices for the screening, so that when we go through the reconciliation, we know how many were purchased at the volunteer price versus the regular price. Okay, so during the fair, you're only going to be tallying until you get the totals. And then at the end of the fair, you're going to do the reconciliation form. So you're going to take the totals from the tally worksheets and transfer them onto the reconciliation form. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but it's broken out in 3 sections. The top section is for the walk-in screenings. The middle section there is for volunteer purchases. And then the bottom is where you record your money, your check total and your cash totals. And I don't think I didn't put the money tally worksheet on here. But you'll remember those from last year. I'll have to add those, but it's the same where you put the amount and then, or the denomination times however many checks there are of that amount. But those will be included in your packet, and it shows an example on the top line of how to do those as well. So those are just called the money tally worksheets. There's one for credit cards and one for checks. I have to update this presentation. So you're going to, like I said, you're going to transfer the totals of the screenings, the count or units from your tally sheets, and then do that multiplication there. And this is something that would work well on an Excel spreadsheet so that it does the calculation for you. And then total the amount of the screenings that were purchased there. Box A is the total of the walk-in tests that were purchased, the total dollar amount. And then below that, the volunteer screenings in box B is the total of all the volunteer tests that were purchased. And then box A plus box B is going to equal the total number of tests purchased, okay? And that should tie to the amount of money that you've got. And on the tally form, like I said, that shows where the refunds go. There are no add-ons. So you're going to keep track of the refunds there, so they'll be included in your total units here. We don't need to log the refunds separately down here. Okay? If box A plus box B equals the total amount of money received, then you're reconciled. And you can pack up and go home. If not, then you'll need to go back and recount everything. Let me see here. Did I miss a form here? Yeah. Down here. I have these two slides out of order. So recount the piles, recount the forms, re-add them, look through and make sure all of your credit cards are accounted for, make sure the refunds are accounted for, re-add. If you still can't find the problem, if you still can't reconcile and get those numbers to tie down there at the bottom, my phone number's on there. Okay. Any questions about the reconciliation? I hope this seems a little bit more straightforward or a little less complicated. It's really doesn't need to be more complicated than this based on the number of forms that we're going to be processing. Terry's method, and we may go back to that in the spring when we're having more fairs and it's more advertising and more turnout, we may need to do that where we're bundling 100 forms at a time. But hopefully we're really pushing for the online registration, so we won't have as many walk-ins. So we're going to use this method this fall, and with less than 100 participants, probably estimated, this will work. This will be great. And if you have any questions at all during the day, I'm going to be on call, so you can call me. My phone number is splashed all over the place. I'm on this one, and I'm on that one. All right, so let me back up here. So this is just explains the reconciliation again, step by step. And then the supervisor is going to give the white copy of the refunds form to the lab supervisor. All of your checks are going to go into the small bag, the small plastic Loomis bag that you're being provided. Everything else will go in the large bag. You can put everything in there, the stamps, the calculators, any flyers that you're sending back, all of the participant forms, and the credit card receipts. So I want only the checks to be in that small bag, okay? Because what we're doing now is we have a check scanner and we scan the checks to deposit them. We're not taking checks to the bank anymore for deposit. We're doing all that right here with our awesome new check scanner. So you don't need to fill out the deposit form. All of that is taken care of here. Okay. Any questions? You guys are making this really easy for me. Once you have everything packed up, the Metro sites don't need to send anything. You don't need to get a cashier's check because there's no cash. Just bag everything up and your liaison will be there, either Edith or Alex, most likely.
Yep.
And you can just give everything to them, box up the credit card machines, and help Edith or Alex take those out to her car. And then, you know, clean up your area, make sure that everything is wiped down, and help with folding chairs or folding tables or whatever your site coordinator might need help with. Okay. Thank you to all of our volunteers who are going to be helping out. And we have a new CFO named Clint, and I think you guys might have known Ellen. And she's moved on. And Clint is our new CFO, and he's very new. He just started this week. So you might get to meet him or speak with him on the phone. He and I will both be on call all day during your fairs, but you have my cell phone number. You can call me anytime between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. any day. I turn my phone off at 9 p.m. at night. That's my time, but I am happy to answer questions. You have my email address as well. So you can call me the day before or the day after if you have questions about anything, or a week before, anything, give me a call and we'll make sure that you have questions answered and you have everything you need for your fair.